Hi, this is Jonathan Armstrong from Hunter Southall Law, the London-based law firm, and I'm pleased to say that Eric, we're back for another Tech Law 10, and you've been thinking about the world of online fraud.
And I've been thinking specifically about financial scams, if I may continue. So I just want to talk about a few types. We have all heard about phishing. It's not like fishing in the water, but phishing. And this can involve using fake emails or texts or social media and other messages to get to you, to have you click on a link or give access to your device or account or network, or to have you reveal information, or to even conduct a financial transaction. And then we have vishing, vishing, these new tech words we're coming up with, which involves using phone calls to accomplish the same types of goals. And examples can include seeking access to usernames, passwords, social security numbers, account numbers, and personal or financial information. And there's certain types of scams. I just want to give a few examples, if I may, Jonathan. I'll be
Mm,
brief. But first, we have advance fee scams. And in these, you're offered a large amount of money or valuable goods in exchange for a false, small payment, excuse me. The request might come from a supposed lawyer representing a large estate or a high-ranking member of a trusted company or international organization or government. And these are advanced fee scams. There are job scams. You might have somebody posing as a hiring manager who may contact you to say you've been hired for a job that you've posted or they've posted. They might ask for personal and banking information to set up a direct deposit of your paycheck, but the job isn't real. There are
mm,
next topic is, or next category, are debt related scams. And people can get easily sucked into this scam, especially when they're swimming in debt. And some scammers pose as debt collectors, collecting on a past due bill. And as part of that, they gain access to your information. I'm being brief on each of these.
mm,
Anybody can dive in with some depth. Fourth, mortgage scams. There are several types of mortgage related scams. For example, some scammers say they're foreclosure consultants or mortgage consultants who can work out a deal and help repair your credit relating to your mortgage. Fifth, IRS, Internal Revenue Service, our taxing authority here, or law enforcement scams. And these bad actors call pretending to be IRS agents or other authorities, and they may threaten you with legal actions, fines, or imprisonment, and they bully you around. And as part of this process, you're trying to alleviate what you might think is happening to you. You reveal some personally identifiable information that they can take advantage of. Six, and there are a total of eight, so I'm getting there, are
mhm.
tech support scams. Scammers may pose as support technicians to try to trick you into giving them access to your computer, phone, or other electronic devices. And you can see the problems there. This comes up quite a bit in terms of prurient interest, if you will. Seventh, romance scams. A scammer
Mm.
starts to build a romantic relationship with you. And when I say you, I don't mean you, Jonathan. I mean the
The
anonymous
royal
you,
you.
the royal you, often through a dating app or social media where it's easy to hide their true identity. And once they've supposedly built a strong connection and gained your trust, the scammer makes up a desperate financial crisis. And because you, the royal you, care about them, you start paying money to help them out. And
Mm,
believe it or not, those scams work. And then finally, for my purposes today, charity scams. Scammers use just about every way possible to contact you by phone, emails, social media, even crowdfunding. And they reach out during emergencies and like natural disasters, like we had in the hurricanes in Florida a couple months ago. And they prey on your desire to help other people. And they pose as a legitimate or well known charity or create a name that sounds familiar to one. And they ask you for money to help. And you might have a wonderful intention, but you're giving money not to those who really need it, but to scammers. So, Jonathan, What say you in response to all of this?
Yeah, I think that is a great topic and absolutely fascinating. And I've obviously seen and worked on quite a few examples, particularly advanced fee scams, and particularly when combined with phishing. So there's some very clever scams around that lift the accounts receivable details and then very targeted emails, usually at the end of the accounting year. And I've seen I've acted in cases like that where you can get over $1 million for a week's work. So these scams are very very lucrative, I think. Some of them are better than others, but a lot of the ones you see, I think, have stuff to be true and then extra embellishments. To give you a slightly ridiculous example, one I've had in the last couple of weeks is saying that Pavarotti was a great admirer of my work and wanted me to help dole out money to music charities. Now, obviously, somebody's done their LinkedIn homework and found out that I was a trustee of a music charity. And it's quite a good scam because obviously I know who Pavarotti is, but the likelihood of him selecting me and only me to dole out his estate is not high. Whereas some of these scams that you see that are invoice related are very plausible, particularly if the gang have the exact, to the dime amount that's owed and will say, as you know, we're coming up to year end and my CFO has said, we'll take 90% of the debt because we need to push it through our books. They're very plausible emails. And I know many corporations that have been caught by them and many corporations that have been the victim. I think the other thing that we need to really understand is that traditionally a lot of these scams have been badly spelt, often derived out of African gangs, and been relatively easy to spot by the poor use of English language, the reference to, may your God be with you and religious overtones. That's not the case with many of them now. They're much more plausible. Obviously, ChatGPT makes it easier for people to do scams in foreign languages as well. So I know, for example, Swiss German people who've been caught out because they say, yeah, but you wouldn't get a scam in Swiss German. That's a particular strain that scammers don't know. But they have done that, and this company was caught out. I've seen the same with Norway as well, where traditionally Norway wasn't perceived, I think, as a big enough market for scammers. But now, of course, with Gen AI, it's easier for them to translate, to put it in language. And as the fraud tools get lower cost, then obviously there's a higher availability and more gangs can play. I spoke at Black Hat yesterday. There was a really good presentation. I'll try and put the link to the Tulane University professor who's done some research into deepfakes and the use of fraud in deepfakes. Really fascinating presentation. And one other I'll just mention, illustrating my point that not all scams are foreign based. I've been reading today about Matrix Freedom. I don't know whether you've heard of them. Are an unusual organization, and they specifically target social media from groups who are, these citizen sovereign bands. And some might say people who pioneered Brexit believe that the Magna Carta is the answer to their woes, etc., etc. And how this works is their posts on social media say, do you want a roadmap to freedom? Do you want to be financially abundant? And you say you do. And they say, well, we can use legal means to reduce your debt and enable you to live debt-free. So you say, oh, how does this work then? And they say, well, we'll need about $10,000 as a down payment to teach you how to be debt-free. Now, the financial regulator in the UK in 2021 issued warnings about this outfit, but they still exist online. They still exist on social media, and as an indication of some of the language, they have been involved in court proceedings recently in May, and this is what the Judge Master Giddon had to say. I'll read this really quickly, but I think it's instructive. It is further alleged that the lender's conduct, so what they did is they sued a load of banks on giving template documents to their customers to sue banks to say their mortgage was invalid. So it is further alleged that the mortgage provider's conduct has been, quote, a violation of fundamental constitutional rights. This assertion relies upon the Magna Carta, the Petition of Rights 1628, the Treaty of Ripon 1640, Habeas Corpus Act 1679, the Coronation Oath Act 1688, the Bill of Rights Act 1689, the Act of Settlement 1701, the Treason Act 1795, the Judicature Act 1873, the Human Rights Act 1998, the Equality Act 2010, the European Union Act 2018, and concludes with the flourish, never me impuni lacusette in a writing or unwitting nod to the fearsome history of service proudly borne by the Scots Guards. So they're using the motto of the Scots Guards as a defense to paying your mortgage back, to pay your home loan back. Now, you might think this is somewhat comical, and it is. As an aside, the person who was criticized by the court and had judgment against them believes that he can sit as his own judge and has issued his own judgment saying that the judge cannot judge him. So he did that in June, having been judged in May. He's now the subject of an order where he can't issue more proceedings. But some of this is serious. Some of the people associated with this movement have also kidnapped a judge in the UK, or attempted to kidnap a judge, invaded a courtroom, etc., etc. And this operation, particularly, it is alleged, is making £500,000 a month. So, ballpark $600,000 a month through these scams, through social media, and getting people to pay money. So this is highly, highly lucrative. And there are also consequences for corporations as well. In this case, the mortgage providers, the loan providers, have been involved in endless litigation, more than 200 separate sets of proceedings issued on the basis of these template documents, including absolute stuff and nonsense. So I think for corporations, there are real messages here as well. You have to monitor social media. You have to use domain name watch out services the same way as you would for trademark infringement. You have to be prepared to act really quickly. So have a sort of SWAT team ready, particularly if you're in financial services, because your reputation's critical to you. And obviously, if it's some sort of scam, phishing attack, payment fraud, you need to be able to act quickly. Sometimes lean on the platform providers. That's harder than it used to be. But you need to try takedown, need to try and make public statements. You need to reassure customers. I think you need to educate customers sometimes as well. For example, at our law firm, we have a notice that we give to clients to say, if anyone tells you that we switched bank accounts, verify through a second source. You can't just hit reply to the email, say, did you really switch to that Dubai numbered bank account? You need people to pick up a different channel to authenticate. And I think, obviously, if you're a corporation who might be subject to these scams, there's really good guidance available from accountancy regulators, for example, on the processes that you can take if you have staff in your accounts payable or accounts receivable departments. You could get some training materials there. You can look at basic guidance to prevent scams, like not connecting to free Wi-Fi unless you're absolutely, definitely sure that it's legit, obviously not giving passwords away, obviously looking for signs like urgency is often key. But these scams get better and better, and they go not just to corporate email, but WhatsApp, all sorts of different channels, and they look more plausible than ever before. So I think it is a problem for society as a whole, but it's a problem for corporations as well. It should be part of their risk profile, and they should be looking at strategies to try and reduce the risk from organizations like Matrix Freedom and gangs of African scammers, etc., because it's a scary, scary world out there.
Yes. So I'm listening to you and I'm thinking truth can be stranger than fiction and more dangerous. And we really do have to be careful. And you provided very good guidance in response to some of the categories of scams that I outlined and you added. And yeah, um, vigilance, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe the one thing, before we get too depressed, the other thing to say is that a lot of these romance scams, a lot of the help I'm trapped in a foreign country scams step up in the holiday season. So we're about to enter prime time for some of these scams.
Right.
Year end is a popular time for the invoice scams. So extra vigilance at this time of year in particular, but don't let it spoil your celebrations and your catch-up time with loved ones.
Indeed. A good way to end. Well, okay. Well, thank you for your thoughts. We'll come back to you guys, our followers soon. Keep sending us ideas. We look forward to your comments. My name is Eric Sinrod. I'm at Dwayne Morris in the San Francisco office. My email is ejsinrod@dwaynemorris.com.
And I'm Jonathan Armstrong, jonathan.armstrong@puntersouthall.law. Thanks again for sticking with us in 2024. Hope that you and your families have a peaceful and prosperous 2025, and we'll speak again in the new year.
And happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Speak soon.